Okay, welcome to Creating a Natural Law Republic, Part 3, where we will be covering Articles 2 and 3 of the Constitution, which talk about the legal system, the common law court system, system of justice, as well as the monetary system. Probably two of the most important parts of the societal system that we're building here. And looking at the legacy systems of law that we have been living under our entire lives, anybody who's taken a deep dive or a close look at the system understands that it is inherently dishonest and based in fraud. The Admiralty Maritime Law system that we're living under essentially has converted us all into slaves via a system of creating or turning us into essentially a share of stock at our birth with a birth certificate. Through this method, they are able to extract our energy via our wealth creation throughout our entire lives. This system has to end. If humanity is ever going to be free, we have to end this system of color of law of, it's not a system of justice, it's a system of injustice. So things need to change if humanity ever hopes to be free. So as I read through this article, you'll understand what we're building here, how it, again, going back to the preamble in Article 1 of the Constitution, truly defines the individual sovereign as the true holder of power in this society. But again, operating under a system such as this, in no way can humanity ever expect to be free. So a new system needs to be implemented. This system is based fully in natural law and common law, and all admiralty and maritime law, again, is completely abolished in this system. In the second half of this video, we're going to be covering the monetary system, which again has been used to extract our wealth and enslave us. So both the legal system that we're currently operating under and the monetary system are both systems of enslavement, which again is why we need to implement an entirely new system of societal management which recognizes the individual as sovereign and as the sole holder of power in their lives. This is the only way that humanity is ever going to be truly free. We can't go back and try and repair a system that was created and set up specifically to enslave us. If you haven't looked at history, if you haven't done the deep dive, your opinions or perception of what the Constitution was, as I again completely debunked in part 1 of this series, is not what you think it is or ever was. So again, we've come to a point in history where we are on the precipice of being completely enslaved, and it's time for humanity to completely break free of the system that we've been living under our entire lives. So that said, we're going to screen share right now and begin reading Article 2 of the proposed Constitution. Okay, Article 2, System of Justice. This Constitution establishes a new judicial system of law and order in the natural law republic, for which it is the supreme law of the land. The purpose for this new judicial system is in response to the unfair, broken, and corrupted systems of injustice that have been observed throughout society for generations. Admiralty and maritime law have no place in a common law system based in natural law. People are sovereign beings and not corporate entities or a share of stock from which to be unlawfully profited, as has been assumed under the constructive fraud of adhesion contracts under the old criminal legacy system. This system of law is designed to allow true justice to be realized in disputes between two or more people or business entities. The only crimes recognized in a natural law republic will be crimes against other people, their property, sovereign public property, or certain cases of crimes against nature in which preventable ecological damage has been incurred by irresponsible individuals or parties. Many legal precedents which have been set in the past 245 years of this nation's history will be acceptable in a common law court system. However, the precedents will be subject to scrutiny and must stand up to the maxims of natural law for them to stand. If not, new precedents will be set moving forward into a new era of justice. Initially, the old system will remain in place during a transition period in which that system is able to merge with the new, and many cases and penalties will need to be reassessed to align with the new system of reparations and reform as documented in sections 4 and 5 of this article. Section 1. Abolition of the bar and transition to honest, lawful representation. Under a common law system of justice in this natural law republic, British accreditation registry will be abolished and lawful representation of plaintiffs and defendants who choose not to personally defend themselves will be available in the free market system. All lawyers will be registered with the common law court system, but will operate as independent entities and be fully educated and versed in common law and natural law. They will engage in their practice under the same maxims of natural law as everyone else in society, and their worthiness based on their effectiveness in their practice of their profession. Any legal society or organization established to regulate the practice of common law in the free market will be accountable to both the Department of Business Accountability and to the common law court system to ensure the honorable practice of law amongst its members in this new system. A system of registration and competency will be the sole responsibility of these public organizations. Like every other business or service entity in a free market system in a natural law republic, all practicing lawyers, firms, or partnerships will be bound to the business accountability social contract and regulated only to the extent necessary to ensure contractual agreements are maintained at the highest possible standards. The primary duty of all practicing lawyers and firms is to ensure that all facts be known and presented in a way so as not to deceive any potential juries, and judges will ensure to the adherence of these principles during trials. Truth is all that matters in a natural law society, and every lawyer's contractual agreement will hold them to this standard. This is the only way real justice can be rendered and the guilt or innocence of any accused entities to be resolved and reparations agreed upon. Section 2. Trials and court operations. Many disputes and disagreements in a natural law society will organically be settled between two parties outside of any court system because individuals or business entities will be operating under a system of contractual agreements, and most disputes clearly evident as to whom is at fault and who has been harmed. In situations where there is a difference of opinion as to the nature of a crime or responsibility of a suspected aggressor, the common law court system will be available to all sovereign members of the Republic. No individual sovereign should ever be denied the opportunity to receive justice against an aggressor in a natural law society. Thus, the common law court system will operate on an efficient, timely, and low-cost basis. Any fees to be determined incurred during any trial will be borne by the aggressor or guilty party, but fees will be based on a cost basis only, as the court system, being an agency of the Public Service Administration, will operate under the same not-for-profit model as all other PSA agencies and departments. Trial venues will be available at municipal court buildings and in certain cases available online in virtual court settings. The goal of this system is to allow sovereigns of the Republic to get redress for their grievances from their aggressors in the timeliest manner as possible. The trial and reparation process should not drag out for weeks, months, or years. The system will be structured in a way so that disputes, disagreements, trespasses, and aggressions can and will be settled in the most efficient and timely manner as possible, so that all parties may go on with their lives once disputes have been settled. In a trial, both parties will be allowed to deliver their side of the story, and all evidence will be allowed to be seen and heard. There will be no suppression of any evidence that either party may find valuable in defense or propagation of their claims. Juries will be made up of members of the protector class who have proven their knowledge of all areas of study necessary to pass the Natural Law Republic test. This will ensure that all jurors are educated in critical thinking skills and are able to weigh all evidence with an open and objective mind. Jury selection will be completely random, and jurors only notified when they are needed for an actual trial. There will be no time wasted on behalf of the jurors, and no jury selection process to stack the deck in favor of either side will be allowed in a system based in natural and common law. All jurors to every trial will be paid a regular wage that will be equivalent in value of their time. Section 3. Reparations and reform in a natural law republic. Upon the verdict of the jury to every trial, reparations and/or incarceration will be assigned to the guilty party, and they will be responsible for compensating the victim for the agreed upon amount by the jury. Payment can be made directly from the guilty party to the victim, or if not done so voluntarily, the common law court system will have the authority to garnish the wages, confiscate property, or negotiate terms of repayment of the reparations. The purpose of a common law court system is to make the victim compensation process as seamless and painless as possible for the victims of crime. Any dishonorable or evasive activity to avoid repayment of reparations by the guilty party will be a violation of their personal sovereignty social contract and may result in incarceration in a reform center until all reparations are repaid to the victim. If a crime is nonviolent and the guilty party able to pay reparations to the victim in a timely and acceptable manner by both parties, then the accused will be allowed to continue about their life so long as the terms of reparation are met. Nonviolent crimes in which the guilty party is unable to pay reparations will result in incarceration into a reform and reparations center until such a time as the victim is made whole by the garnishing of work wages of the guilty party inside the reform center. If a crime is violent and extreme trauma experienced by a victim, the guilty party will be automatically incarcerated into a reform and reparations center until such a time as the victim grants permission for the guilty party to be released back into society. There will be no possibility of bail or release of the accused in the case of a violent crime. A timely trial will be scheduled and commenced at the earliest possible opportunity. This gives true power back to the victims of crime and will act as a strong deterrent to crime, as criminals will have to think twice about committing crimes for which they may never see the light of freedom ever again. No one other than the victim themselves should have any say as to when a violent criminal should be released from a reform center and allowed back into the civil society. All guilty and incarcerated parties will be required to engage in the same natural law curriculum required to become a member of the protected class in society, and may at any time contact their victim to plead for forgiveness. The victim will be required to read all such correspondence and decide as to the sincerity of the pleas as to whether or not the guilty party has been fully reformed and transformed into a decent human being, able to interact in society as a responsible sovereign without ever causing harm to anyone ever again. Section 4. Reform and Reparation Centers. In a natural law republic, the traditional prison system will be completely reformed from one of caging people like animals to one of reforming people who have strayed off the path of natural law by not fully understanding and acting within their rights and responsibilities in a civil society. The legacy system has proven an utter failure in helping individuals or society, as it set completely arbitrary timeframes for imprisonment with no defined purpose or goals for re-entry into society other than time itself. This system is absurd beyond belief. No effort was made to ensure that the imprisoned individuals return to society with a different frame of mind and positive attitude towards life and working towards their full potential once understanding and operating under the maxims of natural law. Thus, reform and reparation centers in a natural law republic will replace the traditional prison systems of the past that did far more harm than good for society in both the areas of wasted resources of the population and the inability to help those who had fallen into the cyclical system of crime and punishment with no viable way out of the vicious cycle. Section 5. Operations of Reform and Reparation Centers. Like all other public service administrations within a natural law republic, the Reform and Reparation Centers will operate on a non-profit basis and be self-sustaining entities. They will be paid for by the incarcerated individuals themselves via a system of paid work that will allow them to pay reparations to their victims, as well as pay for their housing, food, and other needs while incarcerated in these centers. Private and public businesses will be allowed to use their labor from these centers at a reduced wage from the free market, but at a rate that will allow the incarcerated to pay their reparations, housing, and necessities as well as to save up income to be used to ease their transition back into civil society. These centers will operate like microcosms of society itself, and incarcerated individuals will be there for the specific purpose of education, reform, and to repay their victims. Housing will be open for the incarcerated to come and go as they please, but will be locked down for certain hours overnight for the protection of everyone within these centers. They will operate more like college campuses than the legacy prison models, as the purpose of these centers is to help those whom have fallen through the cracks either because of poor parenting, poor choice of friends and acquaintances, or other factors which have rendered them unable to interact as decent human beings in civil society. There will be many opportunities to acquire useful knowledge, skills, and trades that will be helpful in allowing them a seamless transition into society at large. This is designed specifically to stop the vicious cycle of crime and punishment endemic with the legacy system and the prison industrial complex that profits off the legacy model at the great expense of the honest, hardworking taxpayer of the old democratic republic system. Once an individual has fully educated themselves, repaid their reparations, and passed the natural law republic test, they may be released back into society as a reformed sovereign. Even though they have passed the NLR test, however, they will have to live in society with no crimes committed for a minimum period of 2 years before they would be able to apply for and retest for entrance into the protector class and be eligible for any positions in any public service administration. Section 6. The role of police in a natural law republic. All police and enforcement agencies in the natural law republic will be divisions of the common law court system and operate solely in the capacity of ensuring that those committed of crimes are brought to trial and those found guilty are either taken to the decided reform location and or ensure that reparations are paid on an agreed to basis. They will also be responsible for the investigation of crimes and the collection of all evidence to be used in the courts of common law. Police corruption throughout the legacy justice system in America has become endemic, intolerable, unacceptable, and unjustifiable, and thus must be reformed. Since there are no crimes against the state in a natural law republic, police will have no right or authority to harass, intimidate, or oppress any sovereign member of the republic. Any aggression against any sovereign in the republic will be dealt with as any other trespass or violation of the four maxims of natural law. Their sole authority is acting in capacity of the common law court system and only to ensure the smooth operation of trials and reparations. They will also act as agents of the Department of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Roadways to ensure the smooth operations of the sovereign-owned public roadways. However, many rules of the road will be updated and or abolished to align with natural law, and only crimes or potential crimes will be policed and rules enforced by offenders of their own personal social contracts. Gone will be the days of entrapment or lives ruined by offenses in which there is no property damage or victim. A natural law society is one of personal responsibility, and police in the society will have personal responsibility to be decent human beings, just as are all sovereigns of the republic. Any unnecessary aggressions against any sovereign, unprovoked or not, in self-defense can and should result in charges filed against the individual police officer. So, right there we can see that the common law court system is very different from the one that we've been operating under our entire lives. Crime is clearly defined as a violation of one of the four maxims of natural law, and there must be a victim. Again, it is a great leap forward in evolution of human civilization to implement a system such as this, because the system we have been operating under for generations is draconian, and its time has come to be abolished. Moving on to Article 3, implementation of an honest monetary system. History has shown in great detail the devastating effects on society when the very lifeblood of every economic system, its money and the value thereof, has been allowed to be privatized, inflated, manipulated, and debauched to a point where a tiny percentage of the population enriches itself at the incredible expense of the remainder. Any one of these types of monetary systems and mechanisms which allow the devaluation of currency are predatory, highly immoral, and criminal under the second maxim of law in a natural law society. Thus, a new monetary system National Treasury, and Economic Council will be established by this Constitution to ensure that the monetary system operates in alignment with the natural laws of economics as well as the natural laws of human interaction as defined in Article 1, Section 1 of this Constitution. All legacy systems of monetary management operate in complete violation of the second maxim of natural law, and thus must be abolished and replaced with a system that aligns fully with the natural laws of economics. Section 1. Creation and management of a national treasury. A national treasury will be instituted, operated, and maintained to ensure the smooth operation of all economic activity in this nation by creating a monetary supply able to handle all transactions seamlessly and without any unnecessary burdens on sovereigns or business. The level of available currency in circulation, both physical bills and coins as well as digital form, will be based on the nation's gross domestic product. A percentage of excess to be allowed for reasonable expected growth will also be maintained so as to allow the natural ebb and flow of free economic markets. Money will be used solely as a method of exchange to enable transactions between two parties who don't have items of equal value to exchange with one another. This was and always has been the sole intent of money. Money cannot be used for the sole purpose of making more money. The idea that money can grow in value and allow the holder to increase personal wealth without doing anything in return to earn that increase in wealth is a violation of the second maxim of natural law. It is a form of theft because it ultimately takes value away from others' money, as inflation is the primary cause of the devaluation of a society's currency. This long accepted societal norm has been the root of vast wealth inequality and a primary cause of poverty throughout the world. Thus, money in a natural law society and republic will be static and change only with the natural flows of markets themselves, not vice versa. The only exception to this will be the allowance of everyone to earn interest on money they have saved in a banking system. The banking system will no longer be allowed to operate on a fractional reserve lending model that has been a consistent source of economic collapses throughout history. Banks will only be allowed to lend money they have on deposit, charge a fee for those loans in the form of interest, and share that income with the depositors of that bank in the form of dividends or interest income. This is the only allowable form of usury in a natural law republic, as it allows for the banking system to remain solvent, financially stable, and pay for their operations. This also ensures that the monetary system is not unnaturally inflated by the creation of money out of thin air, as has been done traditionally. The Treasury will be responsible for the regulation of all banking activities and ensure the proper balance of physical and digital currency within the system remains optimal at all times. This will ensure the fair and equitable operations of all economic markets at all times and eliminate the boom-bust cycle that has historically been used to legally and illegitimately confiscate the wealth of hardworking people of a nation. Section 2. The Economic Council and Value of Money. Unlike systems of the past, which pegged the value of money to physical material items such as gold and silver, the world has evolved to a point where that is no longer necessary or prudent. The creation and circulation of fiat money has shown that a system such as that can work to keep economies running without any problems, other than those problems created by illegitimate debt and speculative and exotic financial tools such as derivatives and options. The value of the Federal Reserve notes has always been backed by the full faith of the United States government, even though that's not necessarily true, and money is routinely created out of thin air, making the value of all money in a system less and less valuable over time. However, any monetary system agreed upon to enable the ease in exchange of goods and services need only be backed by the full faith of every sovereign and business to agree to its value, backed by the economic activity of a nation itself, and representative of the energy behind the creation and exchange of goods and services. It is merely a tool of exchange and nothing else in a natural law republic. Thus, the Economic Council, to be staffed by sovereigns of the protector class, will be responsible for maintaining the level of available currency in the system. Any and all adjustments to the level of currency will be based on economic activity and need of the public to maintain status quo and grow at a natural pace. The Treasury will be responsible for the printing and distribution of physical currency, and the amount of digital currency will be the remaining balance of money necessary to maintaining the economy. Additional money created and added to the economy will need to show economic benefit and not dilute the value of the money currently in the system. It is the responsibility and duty of the Economic Council to ensure the proper balance so as to maintain the wealth of the individual sovereigns of the nation. As such, it is the duty of the sovereigns of the Republic to ensure that the Economic Council is kept honest in their responsibilities. Full transparency of all activities and monetary transactions initiated by and for the Public Service Administrations will be required to be available for public viewing at any time with no redactions allowed. Section 3. Speculation and cryptocurrencies. Due to the volatile and speculative nature of cryptocurrencies and the inability to show how value was derived from extraordinary wealth gains, cryptocurrencies will not be exchangeable for the new non-debt-based U.S. currency. Any future changes to this policy will be addressed and debated by the Economic Council and decided where, if anywhere, cryptocurrencies fit into an economic system based in natural law. An honest monetary system does not allow for the speculation or inflation of any form of money, and any form that is highly speculative can only introduce a negative aspect into the entire system as a whole. Under a system of honest money and no taxation, there will be abundant wealth to go around, and no one should have a need to speculate so as to make money from nothing and attempt to increase the value of their own holdings. History has shown the negative effects of such a system. Indeed, it is this ideology that has created the massive gap in wealth inequality and gotten the old republic into the mess from which the sovereign people are extricating themselves at this point in history and creating this new constitution to remedy. So that's sections 2 and 3 of the proposed constitution. Clearly it creates an entirely new legal system based in natural and common law, as well as an entirely new monetary system based in natural law as well. This is how we reclaim power back in our lives. It is the legal and monetary structures of the legacy systems that have indeed been the primary causes of our enslavement. There is no debating this. There is no denying that the systems that we're living under were used for the purpose of essentially harvesting our energy and extricating our wealth. In a natural law republic, those systems are abolished, and these new systems align with natural law to, again, empower the individual and allow you to keep 100% of your hard-earned money. I don't know of anybody out there in the world who would not want to move to this type of system and away from the one that we're under. Anybody trying to fight to keep the system we're in and restore the old Constitution clearly isn't thinking out of the box. They're stuck in old paradigms, they're stuck in old ways of thinking. Like Einstein told us, we can't solve the problems with the same thinking that created them. So, that said, I invite you to part 4 of this Constitution series, where I will be covering the remaining departments and agencies in the Natural Law Republic. We'll see you over there.